So far, we've talked a lot about rights. But when we say that you have the right to quote unquote life, liberty, and security of the person, what does that actually mean? Well, imagine the government told you you couldn't choose how to care for your own body, or that you had to wait months, maybe even years, to get surgery, even if you had the money to pay for it yourself. Would that feel fair? Section 7 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms is meant to protect you from that kind of government overreach. It's about the most basic things: your ability to stay alive, make choices about your own body, and not be physically harmed. It essentially tells the government that they can't take those things away unless there's a really good reason, and they do it in a fair way. Sounds simple, right? But in real life, things get complicated fast. Let's talk about a real case, one that challenged what these rights actually mean. It's called the Cambie case, and it all started with a surgeon in British Columbia named Dr. Brian Day. Dr. Day runs a private clinic. He argued that Canada's public healthcare system makes people wait too long for surgeries because everyone has to rely on the same publicly funded system. Since most provinces restrict or ban private options, patients can't pay to leave the public wait list, which keeps the list longer and slows down care for everyone. In his view, if someone can afford to pay for surgery themselves, they should be allowed to, especially if the wait in the public system could make their condition worse. He argued that banning private options actually violates a person's right to life, liberty, and security of the person. If your health is at risk, shouldn't you be able to do whatever you can to fix it? Now, British Columbia saw it differently. They argued that allowing people to jump the queue by paying for faster service would hurt the public system. Doctors would spend more time in private clinics, and the public system would be left underfunded and understaffed. That would make wait times even worse for people who can't afford to go private. So the question became, should individual freedom to access faster care outweigh the goal of keeping healthcare equal for everyone? When that case went to court, the judges acknowledged that long wait times can cause real harm. But in the end, they sided with the government. They said that the law banning private surgery clinics didn't unreasonably violate Section 7, and that protecting Canada's universal healthcare system was a valid and important goal. The ruling didn't mean the healthcare system is perfect, far from it, but it did mean that in this case, the court decided that fairness and equal access were more important than giving people a way to buy their way out. Now, whether you agree with the outcome or not, the Cambie case forces us to ask a deeper question. How far should your freedom go when it comes to protecting your health? And where should the government step in to make sure the system works for everyone? Think about it. If you or someone you love needed surgery and had to wait in pain for months, wouldn't you want the option to go faster? But then, what if your neighbor couldn't afford to? Would that be fair? This is the kind of tension Section 7 brings up all the time. And here's something important: the Charter doesn't say your rights are absolute. The government can limit them, but only if the limit is reasonable, and they can prove it's necessary for the greater good. So the courts act like referees. They step in when someone says, hey, the government went too far, and they decide whether that's true based on the evidence and the law. Now, the ruling in the Cambie case doesn't mean the debate is over. Some people still believe patients should have the right to choose private options. Others argue we should focus on fixing the public system so no one feels the need to go private in the first place. Either way, the big takeaway is this: life, liberty, and security of the person isn't just a fancy phrase in a textbook. It's a real protection, something you can use to challenge government decisions that affect your body, your safety, or your freedom.